Did you get negative 10? Vivian?
Yeah.
Because I'm pulling this out, okay? Then I've got I squared on the square root of 100. What's the square root of 100? 10. But I squared is negative 1, so that's negative 10. Versus if you had multiplied those together, you would have gotten the square root of 100, which you would go, oh, that's 10. But that's not the right answer, okay? Now, this is one that you could have put in your calculator. Now that you've got your calculator set up, the calculator will spit out the right answer on that. Okay, let's do another type of problem on these. And I'm going to teach you, actually, I think this book actually does teach it this way. Some books do and some books don't. I'm trying to find I to the 25th power. If you put that in your calculator, you are not going to get the right answer. Okay, your calculator cannot do this. Okay, well, it does it, but it does it in a weird way. Okay, always base this on I squared. So I'm going to always start with I squared. Now remember, a power raised to a power, I multiply. So 2 times what comes close to 25 without going over it?
12.
12. Okay, but I need one more I, don't I? So I would need to do that. Okay, because that's 24, and then remember, if the base numbers are the same, I add the exponents. So this is the same thing as negative 1 to the 12th power times I. Yes? No? Okay. Any time I have a negative raised to an even power, what happens to the negative? Goes away. Okay? So this becomes just 1. Does it not? So 1 times I is equal to what? Because 1 times anything doesn't change the identity of it. Okay? So I to the 25th power is equal to I. Okay? Yes, no, maybe, sort of. Let's do another one. Let's say this was an odd power. Okay? So that would be to the 27th power. Okay? Odd power. What happens when I have something to an odd power? A negative to an odd power. It keeps the negative. So this is now negative 1 times I, or negative I. Okay? You have, when you have something like this, you have 4 choices. Those are the only 4 answers you can possibly get. Okay? No matter what you do. So you can take any number and raise it. Let's do, I don't know, pick a number. Pick a number. 24. Okay. So I'm going to do I to the 24th power. I'm always going to start with I squared. Okay? 2 times what comes close to 24 without going over it? 12. Then I convert my I squared to negative 1 to the 12th power. Is that an even or an odd power? It's even. So my negative goes away and I just get 1. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Do this one. Give me an answer for that. Do it? Right? Do it? Maybe. Should be I. Should just be I. Because I'm going to write that as I squared. 2 times what comes close to 17 without going over it? 2 times 8. But that only gets me to 16. So I need another I. Then I have negative 1 to the 8th power times I. Okay, it's an even root, or an even power, which means this is 1 times I, which is I. Okay? Promise you, you'll see that on the ACT or the SAT. Okay? Very easy way to do it. All right, then we're going to do some math with us. Okay? when you do math with it, there's two things that you're doing. This, which is solving for an unknown, which in the past, we would have done these problems and we go, oh, you can't do them. But now you can do them. Okay, so I take the 36 to the other side, so I have 4x squared is equal to negative 36. Now I divide by 4. X squared is equal to negative 9. In the past, we would have gone, okay, trying to take square root of a negative. I can't do it. Yeah, you can now. Okay, so I'm going to take the square root of both sides. X is going to equal plus or minus 3i. Okay? Does that make sense? So all those problems that you had empty set on now can be done.
Have you ever put the plus and minus?
Eventually you will. Right now you don't have to. The only reason why I'm saying it is in the future you're going to be using these to solve different roots, and so positive 3i and negative 3i are going to be two separate numbers. Right now you can do it that way, okay, but it's really not as accurate as the plus or minus, okay, but we're not using the plus or minus for anything right now, okay. I think you'll find in the book that it's got both of them. So I would just go ahead and get into the habit of doing it. Be a good idea. Might as well. How about this one? Go ahead and solve that one for me on a piece of paper. And you have to break down to 72 if you can break it down. Oh, no, wait a minute. 16. How about 36? Right? Because 36 times 2 is 72. Okay. Or you keep going till you get to 6i. Okay, you need to keep breaking it down. All right. Some other math. So that's real easy, right? Okay. Then when you have these in problems, you just treat the I at first just like it's any other variable. And what I mean by that is I have something like this. Okay? I just look at the I just like it's an X. Okay? I combine like terms here, so that's 12. These two together, that's going to give me negative 3i. That's my answer. Okay? And you always put the term that has an I with it second. Okay? Because that's the complex way a complex number is written like that. A plus bi. Okay? Real easy. Just looking at it just like it's a variable. Same thing, let's say I have multiplication between that rather than addition. I'm going to have to do FOIL on it. Okay, and at first I treat it just like any other variable. So I have 32 plus 16i, because 8 times 2i is 16i, minus 20i, and then last is going to give me negative 10i, but don't miss that, squared. That's going to change things a little bit. So I have 32. I can combine these two together, so that's going to give me a negative 4i, and that is what? What's I squared? Negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 10 is what? Positive 10. So, then I can combine these two, and my final answer is that. Okay? There's nothing hard about it. Okay, you just got to remember, that's a big no-no. You cannot leave the I squared in the problem. It has to be converted back out. All right, I'm going to give you one to do, and then we'll go forward. Actually, let me give you two to do. One is a subtraction problem. And one is a multiplication problem. All right, do those two.
Is that still?
Did it?
Oh, I kept thinking like I heard it, but I don't.
Well, I
don't know.
restarted it one time. It's still going.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not, this time I remembered to set my timer. Got it, Joseph? Okay, all right, that's the one section. Now we're gonna start the last section in this particular chapter, okay? Now, that means then we'll review tomorrow and we'll test on Thursday. Now, that's gonna, if you can stay a minute, I'll give you the review sheet and that might help, and then you'll just have to watch the video and then
Yeah.
maybe come in early on Thursday and make sure that we've got it,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
There's not a whole lot in this last section, okay? If I have, let's do something we can quickly do. How am I gonna do that problem? Florida, okay? Because it matches, right? It's just one's negative and one's positive. So I'm gonna do 25 minus 9i squared, which that's -1, so this is gonna give me a 34, right? So anytime I take one of these complex numbers and I multiply by its conjugate, it's gonna get rid of the I. And see, there's this other little rule in math that just like you can't have a square root in the bottom of a fraction, you can't have an I in the bottom of a fraction. So you're gonna have to do the same thing that you've been doing. You've gotta multiply to get rid of it. For instance, okay, I'm breaking math law. I cannot have that I in the bottom. What do you think I'm gonna multiply this by to get rid of that I?
1 minus 3i.
I'm gonna multiply it by the conjugate of it, okay? So top and bottom, 1 minus 3i, 1 minus 3i. Okay, this top is gonna be distributive property, okay? So I have 8i minus 24, now be careful, I squared. Okay, I'm gonna have to change that out in a minute. On the bottom I have 1 minus 9i squared, right? So on the top, that I squared is a negative, which is gonna make that a positive 24. So I have 24 plus 8i on the top, because remember, I gotta write my number first. On the bottom, I'm gonna have a 1 plus 9, or a 10 on the bottom. Now, you're not quite done, okay, because, let me see my timer here. I know I'm about running out of time on that. Okay, I can divide this, this, and this by the same number, so I'm required to. What can I divide 24, 8, and 10 by? 2. So this becomes 12 plus 4i over 5, and then it's reduced to lowest terms. Okay, there's not a whole lot to it. Okay, if you've got the square roots down, you've got this down. You just have to remember that the I squared is equal to negative 1. What about something like this? What would I have to multiply that one by?
5i?
I mean, I could multiply it by 5i, but what if I just multiply it by I? Would it not get rid of it on the bottom? A lot of people will say multiply it by 5i or negative 5i, but truthfully, then you just have to reduce it more at the end. So if I just multiply it by I, because I don't have a binomial on the bottom. So then on the top, I'm going to do distributive property. I have 2i plus I squared, right, on the top. On the bottom, I would have 5i squared. So I have a negative 1 plus 2i on the top, and on the bottom, I have negative 5. Sometimes they'll get the negative off the bottom and they'll write it like this. So you're just multiplying everything through by negative 1. Okay? Which is a more acceptable way to do it. There's not a whole lot there. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you 2 to do. Okay? And then I'll give you your homework. Do that one, and do this one.